Welcome back to the Coacher Show here on SportsNetUSA.net. My name is Ryan Osborne. I am joined by the play-by-play guy for Fullerton College football, Mark Pavlovich. And Mark, you talked about it on Saturday before the game. It's all about protecting your leader. And for Fullerton College, not only is that something that they have to do against Palomar, but they have to do it the rest of the season.
Well, when you look at it, Ryan, and the best way to describe this in football terms is we know the head on the field is your quarterback. You know who the head of the field is, who calls all the plays. And when you protect people, you protect your leadership at the top, and that trickles its way down. If I protect Ed Ford, who runs sportsnetusa.net, and anything bad happens, we all know that Ed's going to make sure that I know what's going on. He's going to make sure that you know what's going on. And if we do something wrong, Ed's going to come to us and talk to us about it. So this is what we look at. When we look at protection and we talk about protection, this is a family at Fullerton College. You protect mom and dad. You protect everybody above you, protect everybody below you. And when you translate that for football, well, you protect everybody on the field and off the field. That's what we try to do when we talk about things here on sportsnetusa.net.
But then you also talk about on the field. And for Fullerton, one thing that can't really be played down enough is the fact that there also needs to be some communication, not only between on the field, but also throughout the entire administration.
Well, and communication is that. I mean, it's like when you're calling a play, everybody needs to know what happens in that play. You need to know what your responsibilities are and what my responsibilities are. And when that play doesn't work, we need to talk to everybody involved to say, hey, what did you do that shouldn't have happened? And then at the end of the day, then we can go about our business to correct anything that might have been a mistake along the way. And that's what you do on a football field. That's what you do in an administration. And that's what you do on a coaching level when you look at everything here at Fullerton College. And that's the best way to look at it. Somewhere along the way, there was a fumble. Somebody picked it up, but nobody said at the end of the game, okay, let's all sit down, look at the game plan. What is that game plan? Who designed that game plan, and how do we correct that game plan? And that starts at the top and works its way down from the president of the college to the head of athletics all the way to the coaching staff. That's how you correct things here on sportsnetusa.net.
But when you also talk about correcting things, one thing that's huge when you do correct something is learning what you have to do to make sure it doesn't happen the next time out. Whether it be a fumble, you make sure that you grab the ball with two hands.
Well, and when you make sure what happens, that's the biggest thing. Hey, I got to know what happened first. If I hand you the ball, it's because the ball was wet, it was slippery. Why was it slippery? Wait a minute, you didn't have it handed to you correctly? Then what do you need me to do to make sure I correct the way the ball's handed to you? And then when you get it, you need to understand this is the way I want you to do it. And that starts at the top and works its way down again. And if you do that, if everybody involved understands what you're doing and the corrections are made, then you can go forward with a successful team and a great program.
So Fullerton College this last Saturday, they beat Ventura. Now before we get any more forward, let's go right to the interviews first. We're being joined by Lucky Avinger. And Lucky, Saturday against Ventura, your entire running group was able to just eat against the Ventura Pirates.
Yes, indeed, boss. It starts in the practice field all the time. We practice how we play. We always come out strong and have a great mindset to come out and practice exactly how we play on Saturdays. So we just got to, and I thank my O-line too, because without them, this is not possible at all. They blocked hard, they play really hard, so we just got to give thanks to them.
Well, when you talk about practice, what was it specifically that your coaches were telling you to take advantage of when you went against Ventura?
You know, the main thing is just playing hard and going hard, giving your all 110%, because without that, that's when stuff could go downhill. But we played hard, give it 110%, and we came up with the win.
When you talk about your O-line, what was it that kept your running group and the O-line in sync to break off such huge plays late in the second half?
You know, just having the right mindset, boss. We started the first half was kind of slow, and then we came back second half, having the right mindset and coming out playing 110% and finishing the game strong.
When you talk about that mindset, how does playing here at Fullerton, how does that mindset differ from other places you played?
Competition level is very big here. It's very big. That's part of the reason why I came here too, because competition level is huge. It's not like any other school. So everybody's competing, giving their all every day, because just like that, you could lose your spot. So that's a big part of it too.
When you were looking at Fullerton College, was it those 2 rings that they got in the last 2 years that sold you?
Honestly, yes, it was, because it's one of the best JUCOs in the nation. And I mean, my thing is I want to play with the best and compete with the best, because once you do that, you can earn a spot, and that's it. That's the proof is in the pudding right there.
Some guys like to rely on their speed, other guys on physicality. What type of runner would you characterize yourself as?
I haven't always been the fastest guy, so I mean, growing up, I had to always work for my speed. So, but like in certain situations, I'm pretty shifty. I'm quick from point A to B, but I'm a big like power back that can move, in a sense. So, yeah, I'll consider myself a power shifty back.
Who do you model your game after?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's not just one running back I will model my game after. I'll say probably like Marshawn Lynch, Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, LaShawn McCoy. Just the power, elusiveness. That's what I like, and I kind of compare myself to that.
Earlier you were talking about the mindset here at Fullerton College. Being under Coach Garrett Campbell, how does he demand better of you every time you go onto the field?
Just got to go hard, and you got to give you 110% every day. He's not going to tell you wrong. He's going to guide you in the right direction, and he's a great coach. So as long as you give you 110% every day, you'll be successful.
Thank you, Lucky. Good luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on, we would like to thank our sponsor, the people who have been with SportsNetUSA.net since the beginning, Miller Toyota of Anaheim. If you or a loved one is looking for that new or used vehicle during this school year or at any time, look no further than Miller Toyota of Anaheim, a proud sponsor of SportsNetUSA.net. Miller Toyota of Anaheim has daily specials for veterans and students as well. You can check them out in person at the corner of the 91 and Euclid or online at MillerToyotaofAnaheim.com. Miller Toyota of Anaheim supports high school sports, community college sports, and most of all, education. Once again, that is Miller Toyota of Anaheim. Now that we have mentioned our sponsor, we will move over to the recaps here on the Coaches Show on SportsNetUSA.net. The reason why we do so many recaps? Well, we want to shine a light on the 4 teams who play on the leader for community college football. East Los Angeles, Fullerton, LA Valley, Golden West College each play here on SportsNetUSA.net, and we'd like to go over the seasons that these teams are having, and all of them have had success early on. We start quickly with the host Hornets, who went into the weekend with a chance to make a statement with a victory over one of the best teams in the nation in Ventura College, who is visiting the Hornets for the first time since 2016. Fullerton has remained in the number 1 spot all season long, and are looking to maintain their undefeated record in 23-game winning streak when they went against the Ventura Pirates, and they were trying to justify their beginning of the season ranking of being number 1 in the country. The Hornets started off the game well with a Gresh Jensen run for 10 yards and a touchdown, and that was followed up with a huge play by Coach Phil Austin's defensive backing core as Jay Brown picked off a Jay Vanderjag pass and took it all the way to the house for a 53-yard interception return for a touchdown. Now, Fullerton did try to go for 2, and that one ended up failing, so it made it 13-0 Fullerton. Ventura came right back with a score as Thomas Duckett, with 1:47 left to go in the second quarter, ended up getting across a 3-yard run, capping a drive that went 6 plays and 78 yards in just 2 minutes and 50 seconds. However, just 1 minute later, Fullerton, right before the half, took a 20-7 lead as Gresh Jensen ran it in himself for another touchdown. Ventura coming out of the half, well, it was all Pirates. Ventura, Stevie Houston had a 6-yard pass from Brock Dahman, who came in the second quarter. That made it 20-14. Hayden Neese had a 14-yard run with 3:37 left to go in the third. That made it 21-20 Ventura. And for the 4th time this season, Fullerton had a deficit. You go to 12 minutes and 14 seconds left to go in the third. 3 straight Ventura scores. Brock Dahman had himself a 3-yard run into the end zone, making it an 8-point game at 28-20. Now, Fullerton wasn't done, as Dennis Houston got a 7-yard pass from Gresh Jensen with 7:28 left to go to make it 28-26, as Fullerton tried to go for 2 again and wasn't able to punch it across. However, Fullerton College didn't end up quitting. With under 3 minutes left, Jer Moore had a 48-yard run that moved the Fullerton College Hornets into the winning position at 33-28, and that's how the game would end, as Ventura ended up stalling at the Fullerton 28. Fullerton got 25 first downs to Ventura's 21, and the Hornet offense on third down was terrific, 65%, 11 of 17, compared to Ventura, who was at 38% and 5 of 13. Total offense went to Fullerton as they had 509 yards, and 409 went to Ventura. Fullerton ran 10 more offensive plays than the Ventura Pirates. Now, when you look at Saturday and you break down the stats for Fullerton College, the passing game just wasn't there for the Hornets. They only had 125 yards in the air compared to Ventura, who had 235. Now you switch it over and you look at the rushing yards for either team. Ventura with 174. Then you look at Fullerton's column, in which this is where they really dominated. 384 yards on the ground on 52 attempts. They averaged 7.4 yards per carry. It was a tremendous afternoon for the Fullerton running game, because you look at Gresh Jensen, didn't have the greatest of games. 8 of 20 in the air for 125 and 1 touchdown. But on the ground, Lucky Avinger with 123 yards, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. Jer Moore with 98 yards and that 48-yard touchdown run to seal it for Fullerton. Gresh Jensen had 2 touchdowns that he was able to run in, along with 70 yards. Quinn Commons even had 57 yards running, along with Infant Eckford, who had 5 attempts for 38 yards. So the Hornets' rushing game was on point all Saturday afternoon, and really, Fullerton, that's what led them to victory over Ventura. Now we switch to another team who is hosted here on SportsNetUSA.net, a team that is in Orange County but has had a little bit of trouble with National Division teams entering this last weekend. And they would really have a test on their hands, as they had to go all the way up to Santa Clarita and take on the College of the Canyons Cougars, who entering the weekend were ranked number 3 in the state behind Fullerton and Laney. Golden West goes up to Santa Clarita, and they start off the game well, at least on the defensive side of the ball. They held Canyons to just 3 points in the first 2 quarters combined, up until 2:06 left to go in the second. Tanner Brown's 30-yard field goal that capped off a 12-play, 53-yard drive with 4:23 left to go in the first was the only scoring that Canyons had in the first quarter, and it would remain that way with only 2 minutes left to go in the second. Now, that's when things kind of went downhill for Golden West, and you look at a turning point in that game against Canyons. Well, it started at 2:06 left, where Canyons got themselves a team safety, as Golden West went for a pitch play off to the left-hand side, and it was stopped inside of the end zone, making it 5-0 Canyons. Then immediately on the ensuing kickoff, they got good field position inside the Golden West 37-yard line. Just one play later, that's just 16 seconds after the safety, Brandon Pierce received a 37-yard pass from Wyatt Egan, and that made it 12-0. You switch over to the third quarter coming out of half after that demoralizing final 2 minutes for Golden West, and things didn't get much better. A 2-play, 95-yard drive in just 33 seconds, as Wyatt Egan had another long touchdown pass, this time for 76 yards to Damaris August, making it 19-0, and that's when Canyons just started to assert themselves. They continually were able to push Golden West back inside of their own 50-yard line, and Golden West had trouble crossing the 50. In fact, they only crossed the 50 a total of 4 times in that football game, and they had over 10 possessions. Now you look at Golden West, they would finally get on the board with 7:14 left to go in the third quarter. Kenny Fisher with a 32-yard field goal, capping off a 12-play, 64-yard drive in 5 minutes of game time, made it 19-3. Now Golden West would get the ball back just a minute later as they were able to hold Canyons back inside their own 50. However, Golden West couldn't do anything with it. They weren't able to move the ball upfield, and all of a sudden Canyons, with 6:19 left to go in the fourth quarter, they tacked on another touchdown run, this time from 2 yards out by Michael Wilson. After 5 minutes and 21 seconds of game time, 12-play drive, and 68 yards they traveled upfield, 26-3. That was basically the dagger in that one, as Canyons ended up taking a victory over Golden West. Golden West did tack on their only touchdown of the afternoon on a Bo Kalbacher touchdown pass, 26 yards in the air, to Jonathan Earl. That made it the final score of 26-9. Canyons, here's the thing, for their offense, they didn't have Andrew Brito. They were handicapped in that sense, since Brito has tossed for over 1,000 yards through the first 5 games of the season, and also had 9 touchdown passes to his credit as well. Well, they had to turn to Wyatt Eggett, the backup quarterback, and Canyons only got 19 first downs total, 10 in the air, 6 on the ground, and 3 via penalty. Golden West had 22. Golden West nearly outgained Canyons throughout the entire game. Canyons with 373 yards of total offense, and Golden West with 316. Golden West was better in the air, 289 yards passing compared to Canyons with 260, but where it really changed was in the rushing. Golden West wasn't able to get anything going in the rushing attack. They only had 27 yards total, compared to Canyons, who went for 113, and it was truly reflected in the stat sheet. You look at the rushing for Canyons. They had 1 rushing touchdown. That came by Michael Wilson on that 2-yard touchdown run, and everybody else, it just spread out evenly. Cartillis McFadden had 20 yards. Wyatt Eggett with 19. Kenny Torrance had 19, all in the fourth quarter. Forrest Carter with 15. Manny Thomas with 14. Everybody had an opportunity to join in the rushing attack, and that is what killed Golden West whenever they would try and tackle the College of the Canyons Cougars. Wyatt Eggett had a terrific day, coming in, backing up Andrew Brito, 19 of 35 for 245 yards, a long of 76 and 2 touchdowns, in addition to an interception. Bo Kalbacher was equally as good, 24 for 47 for 231 yards, a long of 26, and 1 touchdown pass as well. However, you look at Golden West, and unfortunately for the Rustlers, they end up dropping to a total of 2-3 this season due to the loss to Canyon. So they go off the back-to-back wins against Bakersfield and West LA, and unfortunately for the Rustlers, just not able to continue it going into last Saturday. Now we move on over to East LA and LA Valle, who both had themselves some absolutely tough games this last Saturday. We start with LA Valle, who ended up taking a victory over LA Southwest. You look at how LA Valle performed in that game against LA Southwest over the weekend. At LA Southwest, LA Valle starts off the game, 1:11 into it. They get a touchdown, a 22-yard pass from Patrick Gonzalez to Jameer Bryson to make it 7-0. All of a sudden, just 5 minutes later, a 6-play, 75-yard drive in 3:08 of game time. Patrick Gonzalez to DJ King for 23 yards, and they made it 14-0. Now, the train wouldn't stop there. LA Valle in the last 3 years has had continual trouble on offense moving the ball upfield. They didn't have any of that trouble this last Saturday. Dawson Schick had himself a 2-yard run, and that was a drive that started all the way back on the LA Valle 3-yard line. And yet, over 6.5 minutes, they drove 13 plays down the field, and they were inside the end zone, making it 21-0. Finally, Dion Malone had a two-yard run for LA Southwest to get them back into it and get on the scoreboard for the first time in the second quarter, making it 21-7. But LA Valle wouldn't stop with their offensive onslaught. They had 4 consecutive scoring drives for LA Valle. Kareem Miles had a 5-yard pass from Gonzalez in the second quarter. A 40-yard field goal for LA Valle from Jake Caver. Caver would have another opportunity coming out of halftime, just 2:21 into the second half. A 32-yard field goal this time, making it 34-7. LA Valle would have Terrell Love Jr. have a 3-yard run on a 9-play, 80-yard drive in the third. And all of a sudden, it was 41-7, and the rout was on for the Monarchs over LA Southwest. LA Southwest did get a 1-yard run from Torrey Myers, and that made it 41-13. They tried to go for 2. That didn't connect. And LA Valle, with just 1 second left in the third, they tacked on Jaquan Martin's 32-yard pass from Julius Sebastian, and that would make it 48-13. LA Valle would tack on one more with Darian Albrecht and a 14-yard run, making it 55-13. LA Valle thoroughly controlled the entire afternoon. Final score, once again, 55-13, as LA Valle accrued 33 first downs, 590 yards of total offense, 263 in the air, 327 on the ground, compared to LA Southwest, who just gained 196 yards of total offense, 163 in the air, 33 on the ground. It was a thoroughly dominating game by LA Valle. Patrick Gonzalez threw 15 of 24 for 226 and 3 touchdown passes. Julius Sebastiano got himself a touchdown pass as well, as he went 2 of 3 for 37 yards and a long of 32. You look at the rushing attack for LA Valle. 2 different rushers for the Monarchs in over 100 yards rushing. Dawson Schick, 21 attempts, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. Darian Albrecht, 14 for 107 and a touchdown. Terrell Love Jr., 56, long of 11, and a touchdown. So LA Valle takes full command of that game against LA Southwest, and they would end up taking the victory 55-13 over LA Southwest. We move over to the final team here on Sportsnet, USA.net, East LA. Fresh up from the American Division, they already got their first American Division victory and trying to get more and get back into the win column after a loss to Mount Sac the previous week. East LA would have, well, one of their toughest matchups of the entire season against a team that was also coming up from the American Division and that no one really knew about. Well, Southwestern goes into that game against East LA coming off just barely losing to the Fullerton College Hornets. In the first quarter, Southwestern tried to make an absolute statement to start off, as Southwestern took a 14-0 lead in the first. Southwestern with Jesse LaSalle, who had a 14-yard touchdown pass from DeMonte Morris, that made it 7-0. Southwestern got themselves a team touchdown and made it 14-0. Then it was 17-0 as Jaime Medina had a 38-yard field goal, capping off an 8-play, 45-yard scoring drive in just 3:35. East LA would finally get on the board after being blanked in the entire first half. Kanan Chandler had a 3-yard touchdown run on a 7-play, 40-yard drive, making it 17-7. D'Angelo Howard for Southwestern, however, would immediately take that momentum away. And it was just this mental mistake for East LA that kind of took them out of the ballgame for the rest of the night. Southwestern's D'Angelo Howard, a 92-yard kickoff return immediately following East LA getting on the board with that 3-yard touchdown run. And after Howard brought it all the way back to the house, it made it 24-7. And East LA would have to try and come back to score. Now, they would do that not on a drive, not on an interception or a turnover, but they do that just 15 seconds later. And you're wondering, well, how is it that they were able to get on the board so quickly? A 100-yard kickoff return by Terrell Robinson. East LA gets back into the game at 24-14. They're down by 10 after back-to-back kickoff returns from both teams. However, Southwestern going down the field on just one play, 23 yards. DeAndre Daniels had himself a scamper into the end zone, making it 31-14. East LA would counter with a 38-yard field goal by Juan Rangel with 14 minutes left to go in the fourth, but Southwestern capped it off with a touchdown run by DeMonte Morris with 7:44 left to play, and the final score would be 38-17. Southwestern total offense 151 yards. And you're thinking, okay, well, East LA must have just outgained them. How about by only 40? 191 yards to East LA. Net yards passing, 135 to East LA, only 59 yards rushing, 27 yards rushing to Southwestern. You look at the turnovers for both of these two squads. Each one of them lost themselves a fumble. Neither team had an interception taken away from them. However, Southwestern, with their sacks, continually pinned back East LA in the game. As you see on the screen, they had 7 for 43. 36 minutes, time of possession for Southwestern, and 32 went to East LA. Miguel Agüero ended up going 16 for 25 and 113, had a long of 24. DeMonte Morris, 16 of 25 for 124 and a touchdown. So East LA ends up dropping that one, and they're going to go to 2-3 this season. And as is the case with most of the National Division teams here in the state, they will have it off this upcoming weekend. Speaking of a team that won't have it off this upcoming weekend, the Fullerton College Hornets travel all the way down to Escondido to take on the Palomar Comets in the first conference matchup of the season.
So once again, Fullerton with that win, they improved to 5-0 this season, and upcoming they're going to take on Palomar on Saturday afternoon at 6 p.m. You can listen to Corey Nalen and Mark Pavlovich on the call there from Palomar. I'm Ryan Osborne. This has been the Coaches Show here on SportsNetUSA.net.